It says, don't ignore any important point in the hope that it will be solved after marriage just because you love each other. This is just exactly what you're saying. This is a mistake that most women make, thinking that they'll be able to fix their husbands later.
Oh my gosh, that's a huge one. That's even Hugo's like, yeah. That look, guys, look. It doesn't. It's very like I'll say 98%. And these are my thoughts. Unlikely to happen, right? That whole thing about we'll change him in the marriage. They're gonna be different in the marriage. Once we get married, they're gonna be so No. All right.
Yeah.
So now moving on, Patrina, we've been doing this book review on bulletproof dating, and it's just been absolutely phenomenal. The kind of tools that you've been imparting onto us, you've been sharing with us, because love life is an important thing. It's a huge thing. It can make and break a person, you know. And last week we spoke about dating after divorce, being a widow, or being in a long-term relationship. You know, and
That's
you
right.
passed some amazing nuggets. And we're going to keep moving on because I know that you've got more things to share with us today. So what we're going to be looking at today, Patrina?
Well, we're going to carry on that chapter anyway, because you know, when people are in a relationship or have been in a relationship, most likely they would have had children, right?
Okay, yeah.
So we're going to talk about dealing with children as well from previous relationships.
Yeah, that's a huge one. That is a huge one because this, you know, I'm from that generation where they were called the baby boomers. You know, so the tendency is, especially in quite a few communities, where you're going to find that the person already has a child with them. So this is going to be a huge eye-opener. So everybody get your friends, share the link. You know, this is going to be very helpful. Paulette from Plaster says, where did Hugo get his olive tree from? And he said he got it from Amazon. Yep, so just to let you know, Paulette. All right, Patrina, the floor is yours.
Okay. So it says, normally with men are particularly likely to make the mistake of rushing into a new relationship after the old one has ended, because they find it very difficult to be living alone once they've been married or in a relationship.
Wow.
And women also rush into it because usually it's for either financial reasons or a need for affection.
Ooh, that's not. And so rushing is never a good thing, isn't it?
No, it isn't. So the book recommends really to wait for at least 1 or 2 years after the previous relationship before considering a new relationship.
Why?
And reminds us that rushing into a new marriage is not the cure for a divorce.
That's a massive way of putting it. Rushing into a new marriage is not a cure for divorce. Wow.
Yeah.
Because usually the tendency is people who have had a broken relationship, they rush into another one and that breaks as well. And usually it could be the same symptoms as the previous one, isn't it?
Yes.
Like the same problems that occurred in the previous relationship occurs in the second one. So they didn't take time to evaluate, to work themselves out, to see what was going wrong so that they can, you know, heal and go into the next relationship more equipped. So I think, so I mean, there's a lot at play there. There's a lot at play, but just to simplify it. Yeah, go ahead.
So it goes on to talk about having children, right? Children from the previous relationships and how they affect the new one. Basically, if you have like young children, I would say probably 7 and below, it's going to be easier. Whereas if you've got like preteens or teenagers, it'll be a bit more challenging because there may be serious internal conflicts from the separation of the parents. So the children will be dealing with that as well. And then, you know, when they see the mom or the dad being with someone else, it's going to be quite complicated for them as well. So you need to bear that all in mind.
Yeah.
And it talks about the idea of another person replacing a mother or father who left the family is often a delicate issue, even for more mature children.
Yeah, I could see that happening. Like I said, because I'm from a single parent household, but I was at an age where I witnessed the breaking up take place, and I can definitely.
How old were you then? But by the way,
I was about 5. At the time, I was
okay.
5, and because the thing about it is there's a repercussions from the breakup, right? They break up, but then they're still trying to work things out, or they're deciding whether and there's sometimes animosity between the two, and I mean, if I think about what my parents did, they could have done better at the time, to make things more reasonable. You know what I mean? So the children do suffer the backlash of that if the parents don't or the person getting into a new relationship don't evaluate the situation properly, keeping that in mind.
So as I said, smaller children will normally adapt to the new person better because they're younger, they don't really understand what's going on, or they haven't seen it, so it's easy for them. However, the older the child is at the time of separation, the more the child would probably want to see their parents together. So obviously they will, probably resent a new person being in the picture as well.
Absolutely. And and sometimes you got the parent that wants to try to move on, and they will force the child to accept the new environment, and that's not particularly healthy. And I can imagine in this generation children as well. It's not a healthy thing to do. It's like we always want the best for our children, for them to grow up wholesome in a good with wholesome values, to be mentally well, right? But sometimes as parents we could just be thinking about ourselves, and just what we want at that particular time, without trying to soften the blow, consider everything that's happening.
Now, this next paragraph might be a bit challenging. It says, it's probably best for parents of teenagers to consider waiting until the children grow into adults before starting a new relationship.
Wow.
Now, it explains why. It's because it's your kids. Your kids come first. Your priority now is not to be happy in love, but to look after your children and protect them from another potentially traumatic experience in case they're not prepared. Obviously, it says this is not the rule. Each case should be considered on its own, but they are recommending at least give the children to grow up a chance to grow up into adults before you introduce them to your new relationship as well.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge one, because you would have been in that the person may have been in that relationship for a very long time. And I think, I mean, it depends on the individual. Like you said, it's not necessarily the rule, but there's so many variables at play, and imagine there's that knock-on effect of this broken relationship here, and the children are seeing different people in this person's life. It's unstable, but obviously each situation is different, and I can understand why the book would say that about waiting till they're a lot older.
And it goes on to say that be sure that the new person is right for you before introducing them to your children, because there's nothing more demoralizing for a child or young adult than to see their father or mother with someone else every few months.
Oh gosh, that's what I just
Don't
said.
subject your children to this.
Well, that's it. I've commented it already. Already. Because we want to keep. Life can happen, but we want to do things to keep that respect, right? We want to keep the respect, and because children are under our wing, they need stability. So what you're saying is that before we introduce them to the children, let's date properly. Let me know if you're the real deal. Let me not fall head over heels emotionally for you, but let me use my intellect to see if you fit, to lay my cards on the table, to date properly, right? Because sometimes people can get so emotionally involved and intimate during the dating stage that the brain goes out the window. and so the cycle begins. It's like a whirlwind cycle. But what you're saying is here, like, look, there's stages. I'm gonna get to know you. I'm gonna heal first. I'm gonna get to know you, to know who you are, what your values are, your principles. If they align with myself, if you're interested in a serious relationship, then it's like, okay, this is the person. This is who I'm gonna be bringing to my life. X, Y, Z. You know, so there's an order to it. It's not just doing as we feel.
Yeah. Now, this next paragraph, it talks about if you're the person who's dating someone who already has children, right? It says, don't try to take on the disciplinarian role for your prospective stepchildren as if they were your own, until you've earned their respect.
Ooh. Katrina, that's a huge one. It is a huge one, because I remember my stepdad. My mom had 3 boys. We did not respect him, and then he tried to discipline us, and we, being boys, didn't accept it. You know, we didn't accept it. We wanted to be obedient, but we couldn't accept it, literally. And we really had, you know, we would mock him. You know, so he didn't earn our respect. We'd mock him, you know, behind our back. We'd feel angry against him. So the whole environment was not a healthy one. So I completely agree with that statement. We need to be aware of that.
Yeah. So it says the children are the ones who need to grant you respect of this role, not their biological mother or father. So if you're dating someone who is a children, they shouldn't be, you know, saying to the kids, listen to this new person. The children need to have that respect for you.
That's true. That's I can see how that can work. I can see how that, because then they feel valid. They feel that their voice is valid, right? And if their voice, their opinion is blocked out, and to be honest with you, the children could be like a measuring stick as well for us to kind of gauge ourselves, isn't it? To gauge, you know, if we're being too needy, to gauge if we're being too selfish. Because the moment, you know, children never asked to be born. We chose for them to come. We took actions for them to come, you know. And sometimes for the sake of our own happiness, we can kind of choose to bring them in, or take actions to bring them into the world. And then when life starts happening, we try to ignore their voice like they don't have one, you know. But we're the one who brought them here. So I get what you're saying. These we should consider their voice. We should consider their approval matters hugely. You know, especially to have peace in the home.
So it recommends that if you haven't yet earned your stepchildren's respect, it's up to their biological mother or father to be responsible to discipline them even after marriage.
Okay.
And it talks about also, like, you know, when you're on dating stage, ideally the visits between the children and the couple who's dating, you need to define how frequent it should be, how much time you'll be spending together, where you'll meet them and all that, because you need to actually have a specific time set out so that the children are also like clear as to what's happening as well. Because, you know, remember there'll be a meeting between the biological parents and the new person as well. So all these meetings or the dating scene, it tends to sort of confuse the children as well as to what's happening. So you need to actually clearly define it as well.
Strong things.
So, and it goes on to say, especially if you're over 40, your habits and customs are deeply rooted and rarely change. Consider if you're willing and able to live with the person that you're dating just the way he or she is without pressuring them to change. If you're in doubt, don't keep going.
Oh, wow. That's a huge one. You know, but then, I mean, at that stage in life, there can also be that pressure, right? And I'm assuming, because I'm a guy, I'm assuming, especially more for women, right? You know, to find someone that will accept them and accept their children. However, what you're saying is that at that stage in life, you're not going to change much. You're not going to be as moldable, as flexible, right?
Yes.
So it's going to be either has the person seen who you are? You know, do they know you and do you know them properly? You know, no emotions attached, because generally speaking, this is how I'm going to be. I can develop, I can change, yeah, but it's not going to be as easy as it used to be, right?
Yes.
So you're saying, you know, you need to be even more, you know, more aware, more conscious, you know, about what's happening in the dating stage than if you was a lot, quite young, much younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you're older in terms of age, then you need to. We touched on this before as well. Age doesn't really guarantee maturity as well. So you need to assess how mature the person is as well in their mind, not only in terms of age.
Yeah.
So it talks about you need to discuss things like, and this applies to obviously the younger couple as well.
Yeah.
It talks about, you know, you need to agree on how you would deal with money, for example, how you would discipline your children, whether you want to have more children, and obviously the relationship with your ex-partner as well, if you've got family from there. How you're gonna split the responsibility of bringing up those children as well with your new partner. Things like the activities that are important to you, what your hobbies are, what you like. For example, like say for example, men, they may be maybe football fans, football addicts. So maybe like every Saturday they need to watch a game. You need to be aware of that as well. And it also talks about your you need to also figure out why your previous relationship didn't work, so that you don't make the same mistakes in the new one.
Yeah. So these are we've got here just touching on what the points you're putting out to discuss, you know, in the dating stage and laying the cards out. So we've got here some, you know, quality conversation, right? It's not about feel saying nice words, oh moochie, oh I care for you, oh you know you're my babes, you know, oh to them, oh we're gonna be rich one day. It's not about that. These are quality conversations, because I'm dating, I'm finding out about you because I want to go on a journey with you, I want to build a life with you and a healthy environment with you, you know. So this person who's asking these questions, they're not about the feeling good factor, right? Obviously you need to be attracted to the person, but it's not about the feeling good factor. It's about quality, intentional conversation, right? And then and also figuring out why the previous relationship didn't work. That's a huge one. That's huge.
Yeah.
What if I can just throw something in? I was personally involved in something like that. Plus, I've watched a lot of my friends go to that sort of new family type of approach. And what I discovered, that you're largely wasting your time if you are trying to get boys of 14 years and above. Right? Any boy from 14 years and above is pretty well set in their ways with the previous dad or previous mum.
Okay.
So when you bring them into a new relationship, they fight like hell not to make it work.
Yeah.
You know, and so you have, if you're the mature partner, you've got to make sure that you are very careful how you tackle that, because they're going to fight you in every step of the way. And what you find they will do, they will try and work out ways to make money out of you. I've seen this, right? They want that to put you on to get you, involved with them that way, but they will not necessarily give you respect.
Yeah.
So you need to talk to your future partner about what sort of respect you want from them.
Wow.
And if the partner shows reluctance to involve the kids in talking to you seriously, back off.
Okay.
Back off, because you are heading for trouble.
Okay, there you have it, guys. Yeah, this is it's your future on the line. It's your future peace. You know, when relationships are not how they're supposed to be. I mean, it's work as it is, but when you got things that are unhealthy happening, it just takes away your peace. It takes away your quality of life. You know. Yeah, thank you for that, Ronald. What was you saying, Patrina?
Yeah, so just to conclude on this chapter, because I know time's marching on,
Mm-hmm.
it says, don't ignore any important point in the hope that it will be solved after marriage just because you love each other. This is just exactly what you're saying. This is a mistake that most women make, thinking that they'll be able to fix their husbands later.
Oh my gosh, that's a huge one. That's even Hugo's like, yeah. That look, guys. Look, it doesn't. It's very, like, I'll say 98%. And these are my thoughts. Unlikely to happen, right? That whole thing about we'll change him in the marriage. They're gonna be different in the marriage. Once we get married, they're gonna be so no. Because once a person has you in their hand, everyone knows this trend, this pattern. During the dating phase, everyone puts on their best behavior. Right? Exactly. Everyone puts on their best foot forward, looks good, puts on the perfume, puts on the best lyrics to impress and court the person. Now, then afterwards, once you get together, then it's like, we're good. Okay, and you kind of see the real person, but you kind of gauge who they are. But now, imagine if you're seeing bad signs during that time when the person's supposed to be making their effort. Imagine during that time when the courtship phase, where everyone's putting their best foot forward, perfume, and you see those signs that are not healthy, and then you think they're gonna change after. Okay, I shouldn't even laugh because it's actually quite serious. But it's not wise. It's not wise.
Yeah. So one last thing it says that we shouldn't ignore is that people change over the years. Something that's important to you or your future spouse today may not be as important 5 or 10 years down the road, right? So it says every successful couple is attentive to these changes and can adapt to them very well. And, the key is really to be flexible. Yeah. So if you and your partner are extremely inflexible and difficult, it's unlikely you'll ever succeed in any relationship.
That's true. That's true. Flexibility is key. And I can echo this because, this year, me and my wife would have been married for 20 years. Wow. And honestly speaking, I've witnessed this. I've witnessed this because we got married in our early 20s, right? Giving away my age there. All right. Which isn't a problem. But I remember one time when I saw a shift in her mannerisms and personality, in the way that she was thinking, and I was like, she's leveled up. You know what I mean? So the dynamics of our relationship and what we expect from each other, communicate, it shifted slightly because I know I leveled up, but I know she leveled up as well. So if I wasn't acceptable of that, I could have looked at it as a negative, but no, she actually leveled up and got better, and her communication changed slightly as well. So I've definitely witnessed that, so flexibility is key for this thing to work in the long run. And I'm glad that you're mentioning it now, because people are going to get into relationships and they're prepared for that. They have their mind ready for those types of things. I didn't have that during my time, but it's amazing to hear that.
Okay. So that's great. And next week we will be covering a section for how to deal when you've lost your spouse due to death, right? Oh, wow. Dealing for the widow.
Okay, wow, that's going to be strong. So, guys, this is going to be. I hope these nuggets that have been shared with you have helped you. I would say, even though it's about people in previous relationships, this will affect someone that you know. This may affect you. This also could be transferable in other relationships that you might have. Do you know what I mean? These are just the wonderful key points and tools on how to communicate effectively, to state what you want, what you expect, and how to get some good results in things that you're developing in communication-wise for the long term. So thank you so much for that, Patrina, and that was very much appreciated. Hot stuff. All right, and if you want to revisit it, just visit youtube.com/robustlife TV, and we'll have this up in the next 3 to 5 days for you to catch these nuggets again. And also we'll have links as well to Patrina and Ronald.
Connect online Monday to Friday with special guests for inspiration, motivation to start your morning right. Music, banter, fun and laughter. Connect when you start your mornings with The Breakfast Show. Only on libertyradio.co.uk. That's right, The Breakfast Show is back. libertyradio.co.uk from 6:30 a.m.